So, episode 6, I believe, we have Meg Sylvester from MK Elite. You'll also know her as Cuba's Lifeline. Sorry. Yeah, you introduce yourself, Meg.
So, I'm Meg Sylvester. I am an IFBB Pro figure competitor. Well, used to be bikini, now figure. I coach through the MK Elite, which is obviously mine and Kuba's coaching brand that we last year after our competitions decided that it'd be a good idea to merge it together because we live together, we train together. A lot of our clients that there's parts of it that I'm good at and I'll bounce ideas to Kuba's clients like posing, etc. And then there's parts that Kuba has more knowledge on than me that he helps me with. So it was just
It makes sense, doesn't
it
it?
made sense, yeah, to put it together, and I think it's worked quite well so far. So yeah, that's me in a nutshell. So I am an online coach. I feel like everybody says that now.
I think
I didn't used to be, but
What
progressed
did you
on to
do
that.
previous again for anyone listening?
I was actually a corporate. Well, I actually had two jobs. So I used to be a PE teacher.
Yeah.
So that's what I actually trained in, and I did that for 2 years.
What age group was that?
It was high school up to sixth form, so year 7 up to year 13, and I loved it.
I want
Pardon?
to add something to this. So
Go on.
realistically here, you've dealt with a lot of corporate slash customer service up here.
Yeah,
And you've done a lot of like psychology stuff with like youngsters here.
yeah,
So
yeah,
realistically, you've got a good understanding of people.
yeah, yeah.
So, so
I think,
falling in love with coaching is pretty easy because psychology, customer service, yeah,
yeah. Do you know what? I might sound a bit pluggy of myself now, but I think that you'll probably agree.
hmm
It's not easy to teach people skills.
no, no,
It's not easy to learn how to be a good people person, and I think you're either a good people person or you're not.
or you're socially awkward.
Yeah, but you can teach knowledge, and I
Yeah,
think that
There's,
I needed more knowledge before I became a coach. That's why I had to do other bits
and
before it.
I think as well, like you'll agree, like you're always going to have like in everything, and I'm probably, you was probably that person as well. Like you have to be spoon fed this information
Yeah, yeah, you do.
because it's so much. And even now, like we were talking before we pressed the record button,
Yeah.
just how many times that you probably have to reevaluate what you know.
Yeah, 100%. It's even with the training side. It's like I'll do one thing and I'll cue it myself and it'll work. And then you'll learn something else from someone else and you're like, that actually works a little bit better. So then you have to re-go through everything with your clients, with yourself, and you're like, right, now
Do
sort
I
it.
apologize for saying that this is the only way you should do it?
Yeah, yeah,
This,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Well, try to go down the lines of this is the way that I find that works well. Let's try this and see if it works for you. If not, we'll find a different way, but there's definitely
you
better ways.
do you coach many PTs?
Do you know what? A lot of when I first started,
Yeah,
because I wasn't just a bodybuilder, I found that because I started with lifestyle, a lot of them were either corporate workers, people that worked in kind of the NHS, because my brother's actually a doctor as well. And I've been quite vocal about that on social media and on my YouTube and stuff. And I think that people have come to me from that. And then now that I'm more in the fitness industry,
yeah.
like literally 90% of my clients are PTs.
What's the ratio between male and female?
I don't have a lot of males. I think I
That just
have
kind of pushed
around,
onto Cuba's kind of side, and then
yeah, yeah. I
vice
think that
versa.
because we're together,
Yeah,
and then they'll see. I'll just be totally honest and open. Obviously, in terms of knowledge when it comes to assistance,
hmm
Cuba would be someone that has a hell of a lot more knowledge
yeah.
than what I do. Like I'm doing my bit to learn,
Well,
but when it comes to assistance,
you'd
people
rather push that
genuinely
onto him.
don't get.
But then, like I speak to people online, I speak to people in other gyms and even coaches, and I know certain coaches actually kind of outreach the assistants advice to
Yeah,
Cuba. So they'll be coaching them on training, nutrition, blah blah blah, and
yeah.
then Cuba's actually in control of their
The assistance,
assistant.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know that he has a lot of people that he helps with that. So I think when a male comes through the doors and the majority of them that are
Come
looking to
that way
come,
want to be assisted, don't they?
yeah. If not, if they're more of like the naturals that probably watch myself and Cuba,
Yeah.
they tend to go with AJ because obviously we're a very close knit
Yeah.
friendship group. So they'll probably see we both have a lot of naturals. Like
Yeah.
I think 85% of mine are, and a lot of Cubas are. But when it comes to having males, they tend to go with Cuba when they're coached by them. But I have like 12 men that I coach, so a few.
They with that, going back to the female part, then that brings us around to the question. So I asked, I'm not going to take any credit for these questions. I asked one of my own clients because I think she, like, I don't think she'll mind me saying this, she's a very big fan of yours, Magda, and she put these together, and when I read them I was like, these are perfect, I don't even need to think about these. So I think I've put them in pretty much storyline basis of where we would. So I'll go for the first one and then you let me know if you want to add anything on. So how do you maintain a good relationship with food during both an improvement season or off season, whatever you call it, and a prep?
So I guess I'll go through my own story. When
Yeah.
I first ever started competing, I started with someone and it was, there wasn't such a thing as like, like the Cocoa Pops
Where did
situation.
that come from?
I know. There wasn't like the squares bars and whatnot. Like when I first started, and what I thought you had to do to be this professional big bodybuilder, because of the things that were out on social media at the time, was literally eat like plain chicken, broccoli, and rice. And that's pretty much what my plan was when I was given it at like 14 weeks out from my first show. And that's literally what I lived on for the 14 weeks.
Fish and a rice cake.
Fish and a rice cake was what I had for my carb up for my competition. So after that, oh my God, that first taste of something sweet created strange things in my mind. And I'd never really had super issues with food. I was very restrictive when I was younger, but that was just because I wanted to be a size 0, I think, when I was like 18, 19, 20, when I was at uni. And just because it was the thing to do, not because I per se had super issues, but more because I just wanted to be super little. But I guess it did.
I think indirectly does, doesn't it? Because I think
It created that restrictive and then eating loads and binging afterwards. So it wasn't a good place to be. So it kind of brought that back post competition. So when I started with Cuba, he was like, right, we need to eat a lot. I was like,
what year was that?
This was 2018. So 2016 was my first year. 2016 was the end of the year, and I pretty much went back into prep
Instantly.
like in 2017. I think that I had like 3 months worth of off season. Well, just eating myself into oblivion.
Crap.
Yeah, I put on 10 kilos in a week, so it was not good. Anyway,
what was like, again, like going back to the Cocoa Pop thing.
Yeah,
we didn't back then. Like health markers was that no one cared. No one cared.
Oh no, definitely not.
Cuba will know this guy. Like going back to the Cocoa Pop thing, I got coached off of a guy called Chris Wormley. I think he was Cuba's first.
Yeah, he was, yeah.
And he used to do this thing called skip loading.
Yeah.
And that was thingy, and he was the first guy to kind of get me to do blood work. I think 2000, that was like 2016, 2017. And I bet it was unheard of for you, like, because people don't do it for females that often.
No, definitely not. And obviously being natural at the time, when you're natural, people tend to then think that you're okay.
Yeah.
But obviously knowing what I know now, if anything, a prep can actually take more out of someone when they're natural than when they're assisted, in my opinion. It's like, I find it strange if a coach isn't to say to a natural client, please get your bloods done as well, because it's so important, especially females, to get those hormones back to a good level, to make sure that obviously everything comes back to light.
Is that post show you're talking, kind of?
Pardon?
Is that post show, or would you suggest that to females?
I always do it pre-starting prep. I wouldn't do it whilst or during, unless there's like a super issue, and we're thinking about coming out of it. And then I would get them done just after, and then 8 weeks after that as well, just to make sure that everything's kind of coming back up with all of the extra little bits of supplementation that you're putting in, health supplementation, nothing else. So yeah. But it kind of how do I keep my food focus in a good place? So I guess in 2018, when Kuba told me that I needed to eat to grow, my mindset very much changed that food is something that's there that's going to help me progress as a bodybuilder, whether that be on an off-season phase where I'm going to have to get bigger, and then a diet phase when obviously things are getting smaller. And I think it's more accepting the body rather than accepting the food, if I'm honest, because the food isn't an issue if you're a little bit more comfortable with yourself. And am I saying that I'm comfortable with my body every single day? No, definitely not. And honestly, I prefer my body in off season to what I do in prep. I mean, that first initial 6 weeks when things are a little bit less fluffy and you feel a little bit less sluggish is probably the nicest part of the prep. And then the rest of it, I just feel like I just look small, and not as shapely as what I do when I've got a little bit of fluff on me. So I guess the mindset for me is more when it comes to prep. And that's just because there's that pure focus of what I want to achieve as to why I feel okay with my food. And honestly, the more times you do it, like the first time you do it and the first time you prep, the first time you're off season, it's so hard, like it really is. And if your goals outweigh and like your want and desire to be successful outweigh anything, the food after that first couple of times of doing the rotation of off-season prep just becomes not a problem. It's like
I agree.
you just build up a resilience to it, and I think you build up a resilience to what people say when you're doing it as well.
I think that's the biggest take home is really like, I think if you need to emotionally detach yourself from prep.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not in any phase. This is my rule. Like Joe Jeffrey touched on this. He talked about like a whole book, and it was like, this is my food. I'm going to emotionally detach myself. Blah blah blah. Once you've built some momentum up, yeah,
One second, Michael. Sorry.
No worries. No worries. This is why, everyone. I have this little sweet peach. Look how silent she is.
My bad. Sorry. Oh, hi.
This is why you need a small dog.
Oh, I do. Oh, what type of dog is it?
It's a Jack Russell Chihuahua.
He's a Jatchi.
Yeah.
Oh, he's wonderful.
Very
Oh, hi. Oh, he's so lovable. You can see. Oh,
But he could literally lay. She could lay here all the time, but he covers you.
Oh no.
One touch and done.
Oh no.
So
Lisa's very hairy. Xena's not. Sorry about that. Kuba came
cool.
and
the doggies wanted to see you. So yeah, I think once you've picked up some momentum in everything, you just set routine, don't you?
Yeah, you do. It just becomes a cycle.
I think then once you again detach yourself from what any fucker else is saying, doing, like I think you'll agree with this, is one thing that I almost find that I used to do even when I first had a coach was I'd still be in the gym talking to somebody else saying, oh, this is what my coach is saying.
Yeah.
And then they would say a total different thing. And now I fastly learned that, right, imagine the stress that's building up because there's just too many opinions coming at you.
Yeah.
But, so do you think that you've got a very good relationship with food now? Do you like?
Yeah, like I do not have a focus on it in a negative way at all. It's like when even per show now, I don't really have that desire to eat lots and lots and lots. I mean, that first evening after you finish competing, we'll enjoy some food, but after that, I just get onto my plan because
this is your job. You're a pro.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but even when I finish competing, I don't ever see myself not eating to a plan because to me, competing's a byproduct of what I do. Like I want to be a bodybuilder for a long time, and competing doesn't, you're not a bodybuilder just because you compete. Like, you're a bodybuilder because you live and breathe it. So because I want to do it forever, I think that the thought process around food's just more, I eat it because it's there.
You know, when you was into your diving and stuff,
Yeah.
what was like this is a good way of putting it. Was you having to be as meticulous about that then versus now?
In terms of food or with everything?
Food with everything, say training.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, so when I started from being, I was 8 when I transitioned from gymnastics to diving,
Mhm.
and I got put on the British GB program literally the week after I'd started diving, because we went and did these trials. It was like grassroots for football. So then it just became it was a full-time dedicated thing because I became a funded athlete. So I was, again, that was my job. That was what I was getting paid to do. So it was the same thing. I got up, I went to diving, I came home. I didn't really have a social life. I was never really the person that went on like a girl's holiday. I mean, after I'd finished diving, between that and bodybuilding, I enjoyed myself.
Yeah, yeah,
It
for
was nice.
sure.
Yeah, it was nice to be a normal person. But I definitely, I think that because the routine and the structure and kind of the regimentedness of everything's been like that since I was 8, I think that that's why I probably fall into it a little bit easier.
Yeah, that's the robotic, isn't it? It's like I think you see a lot of, like, we had when Scott Stevenson on, that was like a biological individuality about how people are different and why you don't look like this pro because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when you go, like, let's say you go into Tesco, like I used to be a bit of a people watcher, and I'm looking at, like, and I used, like, now I think I still have a same, like, you know, where you see like a sporty young girl, like, and this may sound weird, but normally kind of flat chested sportswear,
Yeah.
they're very much like not recluse, but they're very much in their own little circle.
Yeah.
And then you've got someone that's probably naturally got a bit more of a fuller chest and
Yeah.
dresses a little bit more like a girl. It's like I look at them and I think, I wonder how many years it's going to be till she goes into the gym and she absolutely loves it. And then, or something, whether it's that sport or football or rugby.
Yeah.
And I think I look at that and, like, even lads, you've got like quieter lads and they'll probably listen to rock music and they'll be powerlifting or they'll be doing something else. And you look at personalities and I think, what sport could they fit in? And absolutely,
Yeah, there is definitely people that do that. There's certain types of people that do certain types of sports. I think if you're okay with being on your own,
yeah,
you're okay with building yourself up and having kind of the motivation to do something within yourself and not needing other people around, bodybuilding is definitely a sport that you're going to thrive in. If you're not, then you will find it a little bit difficult.
we saw. I don't know her actual name. I only know Instagram. Small but mighty.
Yeah, she's fantastic. I only found her on Instagram after the weekend.
Yeah,
She's insane. I really like her physique, and she seems like a really, really nice
she is.
person.
Like, she did this speech at the after she got the role, and she was like, "This sport has saved my life so many times.
Yeah.
I've met so many great people that I probably would never speak to, or they would never speak to me. And it's taught me that." I think she said something like, "Everyone's fighting their own battle, and just be blah blah blah." All right, we'll push on to the next one. Body image,
Oh yeah.
especially in the off season. How do you deal with the negatives? I think we've practically just touched on this.
Yeah, but we didn't really deal with the negatives.
No, let's go.
So obviously, like I said, when it comes to the off-season body shape, I prefer it. I think that when you start to do it for a few more years and you see the battering a little bit that your face takes in the prep,
Yeah.
when you appreciate the fuller face. So you just get used to being very comfortable in both aspects. But to begin with, it is hard. But
Yeah.
the one thing that I'd say to anybody is make sure that you got clothes that fit. If you haven't got clothes that fit you and you're trying to squeeze into clothes that you wore 12 months prior or just during your prep, you're gonna feel terrible going anywhere wearing things that don't fit. So always make sure that it's not that you need to wear baggy clothes, but at least some jeans that actually fit you or a dress that actually fits you, rather than trying to squeeze into things and things popping out everywhere because you're not going to feel good. So that's just my most serious rule that I always say to all of my clients when they first start going into an off season, and it definitely does help. It does help.
How many pairs of leggings have you split?
Oh, so many. The thing is, though, for me, I don't know what it is with my genetic disposition, but I don't get the biggest of asses in off season. It's not where I hold my fluff, which is quite good for prep because I end up getting quite good condition, especially at the back where lots of people do struggle. But yeah, I don't hold it there. But when it comes to my quads, I do. So I've ripped a few. I've ripped a few.
You're mentioning glutes and stuff there, like over the years you've like changed. I remember like a few posts, and this is probably again another topic, and I don't know if it's 50 posts away or whatever, but where you totally changed, let's say a barbell hip thrust. You used to almost bring your ass to the floor,
Yeah,
and then come up, and now you see that, and then like I hate this particular thing, right? Somebody needs to shut the form police down, because
oh,
with this, all this, be a nice person, someone committing suicide and whatnot,
yeah,
that's enough. That's enough there. But like people need to learn like how to maximize that. Because I think when I saw it with you doing it, training with Callum, and then in my head I'm like, right, from a coach point, is to explain that to a client. It's almost like saying you can move 2 inches, 3 inches, but I think, do you put that element down to a lot of your progression in that area? Like what?
yeah. I would say so. I think because we've learned how to actually do movements now, we actually do it with correct form, correct tempo, everything. We don't train like dickheads, basically. The the progressions everywhere have just literally been down to the fact that it's
Even in Cuba's back, like is
yeah, it's doubled and tripled in size compared to what it looked like when he last competed in November. So if that can be a continuous cycle of the little off seasons that obviously we've just had, it's a good enough time to take time away, get health markers back, build up food, enjoy some good time, but then get back to competing. I think that it bodes well for the next few years.
it probably maximizes recovery, that you're not burning out other
Oh, definitely,
areas.
definitely. I don't think I've ever rested this much in my life. It's quite nice. I feel fresh though. I feel good. I feel healthier now than what I did in my last 16-month off season when food was up for a longer time. So it's definitely less is more sometimes
Do you think it can affect somebody's look? Like, so you talking about stress, going back to some of your shows when you've been on stage,
Mhm.
like let's take a time that stress is massively high, whether it's between home life, gym life, whatever, family life, loss, whatever.
Yeah.
Do you think then that affects your look massively on stage?
Yeah, 100%. I think the first year that I didn't feel any stress, there wasn't any kind of like personal upset
Mm-hmm.
or work stresses was 2018 when I actually started with Cuba. And since then, there hasn't really been anything like that. So I think that the look has improved and the progression has been more of
Yeah, yeah.
because there's been less stress, more happiness. Obviously, there's times when there's not, but it's not been a constant thing.
Do you think you've become kind of like, and I think a lot of people do this, is over time you almost are able to, without sounding like a CUNT, you almost begin to think, you know what, I don't need you in my life.
Yeah,
You bring in no positivity, and then
yeah,
shit, just block them out. Like I know from countless times that I used to be like, I avoid talking to people because I'd be like, right, I don't know what they're going to put into my head, or I question myself or whatever. And then when I learned, I was like, no one matters.
yeah,
Just block them out.
yeah. I had this conversation with Cuba like a few years ago. Like I used to be the person that wanted to be friends with everybody, that told everybody everything. I like to a degree,
Yeah, yeah,
but now that I'm more of a to myself person, I deal with and speak to the people that I only want to see, that are my closest of friends, that support everything that I do, that I trust with everything.
yeah.
I think from that, there is so much less stress, so many less worries. I feel I wake up in the morning not thinking to myself, oh my God, have I said something wrong? Have I said something to the wrong person or anything like that? So I think that I think when you become more, what's the word, comfortable within yourself. Yeah, confident, comfortable within yourself, happy with just doing and being whatever you are. I think that that's when you
things,
stress
things,
less,
things.
worry less.
And I think you start then like attracting people that want you to win, like you'd want them to win, like whether
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
business related, whether that's family related, or
Yeah, I agree.
so is that, shall we move on to the next question?
Yeah, did we cover that one?
We covered a bit of the negatives, you like buy
Oh,
buy
okay.
bigger
So
clothes.
the negatives, I still get negatives now. So my
What's your
YouTube's quite
biggest?
rife for it, to be honest. I get that I look like a frog. I look like a man. I've changed and I look like a bloke, and everything about me looks like a man. And I'm like, right, okay, yeah, sound. And I think initially when those comments come through, they are a little bit upsetting,
The
and
fake
they do
profiles,
put in.
the majority of them fake made up profiles.
Yeah, and you know what? I get quite a lot of messages, the requests from fake profiles on my Instagram. I do get quite a lot of them as well. Whether that be regarding my coaching and the progressions that my
Dick
clients make.
pic. Imagine.
Yeah, or whether about me and saying that I look like a bloke, I'm not pretty anymore, whatever. And it did used to upset me, but now I just find it really funny. I find it funny that, I mean, if they want to say something, at least use your own profile or just come and say it to my face. But the fact that they
Speak to them
hide,
about it.
yeah, if they hide behind a profile or have something to say, but they can't say it to you in person, then they're just not worth your time.
I think what I've discovered as well, like, is everybody, like, not no, everybody. I don't. You probably don't, but everybody has a secret Instagram account where they just switch account, and they don't want their friend or somebody that they're watching know that they're watching. So story watchers or whatever, they have fake accounts, and it's just a bit. And that's probably the account. It's probably somebody you know.
Probably,
But
probably.
anyway,
But
yeah,
they just don't have the balls to say it, which I wish
yeah.
they did. Because if somebody has an opinion, or if I have an opinion about something or with someone, like that's one of my bad traits, but also a good trait. I'll tell someone what I think.
But that's like, that comes from coaching. You're just being straight to the point. Like,
Yeah.
one thing I disagree with, and this is not a thing you're right, is, and I think you'll agree on this now, but when I first was PTing, I used to go up to somebody in the gym floor, and this was me trying to potentially create a lead or whatever, and he said, excuse me, you're doing that wrong. And who the fuck am I to tell somebody they're doing something wrong? Like, when I could have approached that situation, like, hi, hope you're well. Could I just ask, like, why you're doing this exercise this particular way? I say, why don't people just inbox you and say, I don't know, this isn't thinking, but Meg, are you happy within your skin of how you've changed, like from a facial point or a body image point? Are you happy? Rather than straight away come, because if you're happy, who gives a fuck what anyone looks like?
I know. I know. I know.
So, bodybuilding and menstrual cycle.
Yes. Yeah.
And can we also tag on to this the copper coil
Yes.
or any sort of birth control as well there?
Yeah. So personally, when I turned, how old was I when I mentioned 18? I turned 18 and things started happening. I was a late bloomer because of being
Sports.
competitive sports for such a long time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was actually my diving coach that recommended for me to go on something because you don't want to be on your time of the month when you're competing at a diving competition, which I kind of wish that I'd never listened
Yeah.
and never had it really, because I was on it to be in 20. How old was I when I went out? Was that 23, 22, 23, 23? So what's that? 5 years? 5 years I was on the pill, and my fat disposition was so strange. Like, honestly, up until being 18, I could eat whatever I want. whenever I wanted. It had not affect anything. I'd never crave anything. I'd never be someone with mood swings, nothing ever. And then I added that in, and it wasn't obviously until I took it out that I then realized the type of person I
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
Yeah, like I was moody. I'd hold a lot of water. I'd get bloated a lot. My fat was in strange places compared to what my fat would be normally.
Just to confirm, is this you taking a birth control pill?
Yeah, this was the Microgynon. I think it's a combination pill. I think
Yeah,
that's what it's
it's called.
called.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I had. And then when I went into prep in 2018, Cooper said to me, "It's strange not to have a period.
Yeah.
What's that going to be doing to your body when it's supposed to be regulating? You're not going to be as responsive. There's not going to be as much progression with your body." So we took it out literally as I started prep. And I guess lots of people probably be a bit worried thinking that it's going to make you get fatter or hold water or your hormones are going to be all over the place. But literally your hormones just literally,
Balance out.
yeah, and come back to like a normal level. And honestly, like I lost weight like that. Like my other preps, I struggled so hard to get that hard lean look when, yeah,
Yeah.
fair enough, when you're a natural, sometimes that hard lean look is harder to get. But I'd been that condition when I was diving. So I knew that it wasn't normal that I couldn't get to that position because I'd had a six pack from being 8 to 18. So it was very strange that this wouldn't happen for me. So
Yeah.
as soon as I put that out, like honestly, I think I dropped like 3 kilos in 2 weeks. And like that's quite a lot for a female.
Yeah.
And food wasn't ridiculously low, cardio wasn't ridiculously high. It was just literally from taking that out, I was a happier person. Yeah, fair enough. I had a period each month, but like it's not as bad as what.
Strenuous as what you thought.
No. And like when I came off because obviously I would have the break in between the pill every now and again, and I'd find that I'd put on loads of weight when I'd have my period. But now, being on the copper coil, which is what I'm on now, obviously my hormones are natural level because it's not actually hormone induced. I don't put on any weight. If anything, most of the time I drop weight when I'm on cycle. So I think that people are very worried about it more because they don't want to have one. They think that it's going to have massive cramps and it be heavy, whatever. Like it's just normal. Like unfortunately, as a female, if you want to function properly, if you want to be able to drop weight, if you want to not be a psycho, if you want to be in a position where your body's so responsive that it'll respond to the food and the training and everything, like 4 days out of your month where you feel a little bit sluggish and a little bit less strong, honestly, like for the progress that it helps you make is so worth it.
You could just organise that as like a deload, couldn't you? Realistically, if you went in prep or whatever.
Yeah.
Did you look how close to a show do you commonly like lose your cycle?
So last prep, I think it was for two cycles that I lost it. Well, it was one full one and the other one was a little bit light. And then it
That's
was,
mentioned, isn't it? That's pretty
yeah,
standard, I think.
yeah. And then 6 weeks per show, I got it back, which is,
In those deeper times where your like food's lower and probably stress is a little bit higher on your body that you're going to kind of lose it. If anyone, let's say there's somebody listening that isn't coached, is predominantly isn't potentially even show prep or whatever, and is just dieting and they've been advised keto or something, what would your advice be to anyone to like prime themselves to keep a cycle?
make sure that you've got a good amount of fats in your diet. Make sure that you have got an adequate amount of the proteins and carbs, but also make sure that your health subs are on point. Krill oil and omega-3 is a good quality omega-3. That the Nordic oil are like useful tools. Like if you're in a diet phase, you need to be upping those to make sure that your bodily hormones can stay in an okay level. Like when food becomes lower, your hormones are going to take a hit, like they are. Everything becomes a lot slower. So making sure that you're supplementing with things that can actually help with that and keeping the female reproductive system in an okay level is so important. And and this isn't a shameless plug, and I'm sorry. If you find that you're having issues and you can't afford a coach, get onto the forums. Jordan's forums is amazing. You can ask questions about anything and anybody will answer your questions. We're all on there supporting everything. I know that there's other forums around that do similar things now, but it's where I first initially started and asked questions when I did a little bit of coaching on my own. So it's where I learned a lot of things. So asking questions of people who are knowledgeable is so important.
Another one I might add here, because like there's always, like, me as a coach, if there's a time that I don't particularly, let's say, like, I'm clueless to something, I'm not going to be a dickhead and kind of I'll book a call with the relevant person.
Yeah.
Whether that's Cal, Joe, whatever. Now, is that I don't know if it is that a service that you potentially offer, like a Zoom?
I've never offered out a call, but
No.
I've always said, and I think that I add it to a lot of my YouTubes, a lot of my Instagram posts. If anybody has a question about anything, just drop me a message, because I'm not the type of person that a request's going to sit in there for a week. Like, you'll be waiting.
It's not a dick pic.
Yeah, well, that's definitely getting blocked. Or maybe I'll forward it to Cuba. He might enjoy that more than me.
Leave it for 3 weeks out. Create a list of them. Cuba and I are like an escort, and like, right, take me to this address.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, at 3 weeks out, neither of us are bothered about taking his clothes off. I think that we could probably live in the same clothes for 3 weeks and not be bothered.
walking into Ultra, like, what's that smell? Which
one? It's just Meg and Cuba, don't worry about
it. But no, I think the reason I asked that is because I think I knew you was going to kind of respond on the question thing, and I think people sometimes avoid that. Like, I think there are a lot of people in this industry that you're not going to get a response of because they don't care enough. They probably plug it on their story that they do, but for you to genuinely say it is, yeah.
When I first initially started, I remember I wanted help and guidance from other females. I remember messaging a few people, and I either got a really short, shitty message back or nothing at all. And they'd seen it and then just didn't reply. And I just thought, I don't ever want to be that person. If I ever get to a level where I feel like the knowledge is enough and people want my help, I'd never be that person, because you don't have to be someone's coach to help somebody.
You know, like, as long as the person's not a complete asshole and they're not sending you 20 messages.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and you just think, well, I don't know enough about you to really be able to help. I'm going to give you a little bit so that you can actually get by. But yeah, I think knowledge is king, and the more you can help people, the better the sport will be, the better the sport will grow. And that's what you want, isn't it? That's why we all put as much stuff out on the social medias, on everything, to make sure that there's more people that are more knowledgeable, that can enjoy it more, that can actually get into the sport and be in a good place.
I think like 5 or 6 years ago, it was a very, like, I don't think there's still a little bit of it, but it used to be a very competitive kind of like backstabbing kind of sport. And I think there's probably still an essence of it. I think everyone, like, for what I speak to, like being at the show at the weekend, is coaches are like congratulating other coaches, like, well done on your client, or I saw your client update the other day, she's looking a mega, or this. And once upon a time, like, people just plug in to, I think
I agree. It's different backstage now. It used to be very catty, and it's not anymore. It's really nice. It's chilled. Everybody's looking to support. Like, one of my clients went there on the weekend to compete at the Two Bros, and it was her first ever time backstage. She says that she looked like a little lost puppy, and all of the other figure girls literally took her under her wing, asked her to come and play cards with them, have some fun. And I just thought, you know what, that wouldn't have happened a few years ago.
But figure looked amazing this weekend. I don't know who it was, but like, I looked, because I think as well, and you probably agree here, bikini is a very hard one to judge.
Yeah, it's hard because
I almost, you can agree with this, but I almost feel like that number badge on your pants sometimes is like a lottery ticket.
Yeah, it is. I mean,
you can identify the obvious winners.
Like, you can. There's people that very much do stand out, and I think it's amazing how many people have gotten into the sport now.
Yeah,
And obviously, bikini is where people are going to start
yeah,
the majority of the time. So that's where the mass numbers are going to be, and then they filter down kind of as you get bigger classes with women. But yeah, I feel sorry for the judges.
yeah, 100%.
That
That
amount
many women, that would upset that many women.
Yeah, I know. It's a hard job being a
I
judge.
think soon, two bros, we're looking at this weekend though, they're almost going to have like a men's bodybuilding and women's physique and women's figure on the Saturday or something.
Yeah.
And then men's physique and probably even classic and bikini on the Sunday.
Do you know what? They did that in 2018 at the Amateur Olympia that me and Kuba competed in.
Yeah.
The men's was on the Saturday and the women's were on the Sunday, and it worked so much better.
I think
Because there's just way too many competitors now to be able to do it in one day. Even at a regionals, like imagine what kind of the Arnolds and any kind of pro qualifier is going to be like. It's going to be mental numbers. Either that or do the whole thing where you've got to come at a certain place in a regional to be able to do a finals. But then it kind of makes it unfair if then you've got people coming from abroad doing it for the pro qualifier as well. So
yeah.
I think the 2 days would work really well. I think really well.
We was there from like, we got there at 7:30, and then the bikini overall got like announced at like 8:15.
Or was it at 8:15? I'm sure it was later than that. I'm sure I was watching it like 8:45.
It probably was, you know, but I just lost interest at this point.
Callum's client who won the overall as well, wasn't it?
Becky. You know what?
She's got a great physique.
She looked phenomenal. You know what? Like, I've known her for quite a while, and like you probably agree with this. Is like you said earlier, once you're happy within your skin and your personality, and you're able to show that, that's when you're going to do well.
Yeah, she's definitely much more confident than what she did when she did the PCA a few years ago.
Yeah. She was up there, and like she showed her personality when she was waving the sword around and whatnot. And I looked and I thought, you probably had crumbled a year ago.
Yeah.
So fair play. Right. Anything else to touch on the menstrual cycle?
No, I think that was it, wasn't it?
I think that was it. The hardest part about bodybuilding as a female, have you ever to deal with much negativity or just I think Magna's struggling. I think I'm gonna have to have a word with her about negativity. Like, come on.
The hardest thing as a as a female competitor, I'd say it's the negative comments around the fact that when you get bigger, it's the masculinity that people like. I honestly, in my face, look no different, apart from the fact that I have less filler.
What do you mean filler?
I don't get my lips done anymore. I used to, when I first started competing when I was younger, I used to get my fillers done in my lips. I used to have a permatan all the time from going on the sunbeds. So apart from that, I don't look any different.
You just not be arsed with it anymore.
I don't have time.
Well, thank you for this hour.
Yeah, I honestly, I don't have time with everything that I have going on with work. Yeah. Make sure I get my nails done, get my eyebrows done, get my hair done, but other things kind of have to take a little bit of a back step sometimes. And I think as you grow up, you don't really feel the need to
be that vain kind of.
Well, yeah. So I think it's just more the comments.
Yeah.
More the comments of, oh, your voice is deeper. I've always had a deep voice. Like, this is not a deep voice. I wish that people could come into the world of bodybuilding sometimes and realize what a deep voice is. I
think when, like, you know, at the weekend, sorry to interrupt some of the physique women, like, you know, even in there, like, I don't know a name. I've never seen it before. There was I don't know the correct way of saying this, but there's a colored lady in green, and she, like, you know, like when men diet, what happens to their jaw? They literally look like a skull.
Yeah.
So the same is going to happen to a female.
Yeah.
And I remember I'd kind of climbed up the rows, and I was sat next to Jason, this Chev this Chev, someone else, and I heard like just a normal family that probably come to support their daughter or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were saying, oh, and all I overheard was the comment, doesn't she look manly in the face? Right. And I just shook my head because I was just thinking, right, well, doesn't like somebody that doesn't train, don't they look ridiculously overweight in the face? Because this person just dieted for 12 to 18 weeks and dropped body fat. They're going to lose it in the face, and they're going to have a very tight jawline and stuff. And I think looking like I know, for example, probably the knowledge that you've got, that Kuba's got, especially on, say, anabolics and stuff, he's not going to put you on anything that is going to kind of long-term negatively affect you.
No. Like,
and then sorry, and then going to it is like, if you're going to a football game and you're going to smash 20 pints, you need to take ownership of that. There's repercussions of all that alcohol. There's repercussions of all that fast food. There's repercussions of any supplementation you take or assistance you take. There's repercussions, and you're an adult. Like, so you don't need telling that this, or this, because like 4 or 5 years ago, I think like a lot of coaches back then blow smoke up their clients' arses to fuel their income.
Oh, yeah.
And they pushed probably drugs because they only knew that.
Yeah.
And like, for me, I've always said this, is I'll take ownership of whatever I do.
Yeah.
But I don't know where I was going with that. So Tandem, you carry on.
No, I agree. I think if somebody's gonna abuse the drugs as a female, like, obviously it does boost your testosterone, which is then going to create side effects that are probably going to make you a little bit more masculine, yes. But just because someone goes to the gym and they train, and I don't think that there's enough knowledge around assistance for people, or people are just too ignorant to actually find out what it is. That if somebody is to find out that I'm on assistance, they think that I'm jabbing 500 milligrams of tren every other day.
I think you'd be pretty much dead, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but that's what they think.
Comments,
as a woman, you're injecting test, you're injecting this, you're injecting that, but in hindsight, you're not.
And nearly as much that. Like, I've heard, like, I was shocked when I heard kind of like 1 milligram. I was like, wow, is this actually a dose available?
Yeah.
I think even like, do you like, going to that, on the JP forums? I imagine you share most of your
everything that I do. I've never not added anything that I don't do onto
next time. Just send them a website link to that. Just say sign up and you can see exactly what I'm doing, darling. Enjoy.
Yeah, exactly that. So I think that when people do find out what I take, they're actually quite shocked. And
if they know a sufficient amount about it.
Yeah, if they understand it, they'd be very shocked. Especially for the amount of time that I have off as well. I think that they'd be quite shocked. So I let people think what they want, but that's definitely the worst part of bodybuilding, the negative stigma when it comes to either outsiders or people that are inside that want to be dickheads, saying that you're changing and that you look masculine or sound masculine, because they just don't get it, and they obviously don't pay enough attention to realize that
it's not
the only time that my face ever changes is when I get really big in off season, because I get a fat face. And unfortunately, that's just where I carry my weight. So I'm sorry, love, but I'm just going to have a fat face and just deal with it.
You're not there to please them.
No.
Going on that, like the positives, and I'll say this, the positives of you living such a negative lifestyle about that is you can coach people around it. You, like, from a psychological point, how it's mentally affected you. So if any of your female clients, at some point, they're going to receive the same comments.
Yeah.
A lot of them do.
So it's easier to help and support them after going through it myself. Yeah.
Which makes you feel better, because you then can classify that you're not the only person going through it.
Yeah.
They know you're going through it.
I agree. I think it's the same when it comes to a lot of things. It's like my diving coach that I had was an Olympic diver, and he could sympathize and also push me because he'd been through that process himself. So I guess I had more respect for him on that level. It's like when it comes to bodybuilding, if I was to have a coach that's never gone through a competition prep, I think to myself, well, you've never gone through it, so you don't actually know what it's like. So I know that some other people might not agree with that, but I think it's the same when there's been a situation and someone can't sympathize about it because they just don't get it. I think it's hard to have a viewpoint and a supportiveness around it.
I
'Cause you
agree.
don't get it.
I agree. That's why I can't comment on the menstrual cycle because fortunately never.
Yeah, but then it's vice versa. There's certain things that like us females don't go through that you males do. It's like the testosterone levels in your body that makes you feel certain ways.
And then your libido goes, and you're like,
Yeah,
"Come on,
exactly.
all this test, what's going on?"
Yeah. Whereas like us as ladies, like, does it get affected that much? Not really, not compared to a man. So I think that there's certain things that I probably couldn't sympathize for that kind of Cooper would. So again, that's another thing that when we're doing the coaching together, it works quite well because he gets things that he can support with, I get things that I can support with, if that makes sense.
I agree. I think going from that then, this is a good one. Related to your recent post dealing with loss and lessons to be learnt from that. Now I'm going to comment here because so I want Magda to compete next year, and I'm pretty adamant I think she's got a lot of potential. Now I think she's doing this because she's kind of in that mindset of like, I only want to compete if I'm competitive, and basically weaving between the lines, she's only going to compete if she wins.
Okay.
So I think that's where this question is coming from. Like, what if I lose?
So if you lose, it doesn't matter. I remember my first ever bodybuilding show, like warranting the fact that I didn't have enough muscle, I'd not done a proper off season, I'd not done it right to warrant getting a place in. But I came last at my first ever bodybuilding show, and it didn't put me off. It just made me think, well, look at all those people that look that way. Or look at what I look like compared to them. I need to go and work my ass off to be better. And I think that that's the mindset more so that people need to have. Like, not everybody can win. Like, everybody that's coming to your competition, them other 14 competitors are there to win. And you can't, you
Can't be
can't
negative about
change,
that. No.
you can't change what their bodies look like, what their genetic profile looks like, how hard they've worked. You can't control what the judges are thinking because at the end of the day, it's a very subjective sport as well. One judging panel might give one person the win, another judging panel would give another person the win. It's very much like I probably not fancy the same type of people that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the same with judging. And unfortunately, with bodybuilding, you can't control if you're going to win or lose. You can't really with any sport. But what you can do is you can focus on being the best version of you, making sure that you fit the criteria for that given class and that federation, whichever it is that you're going to be, making sure that you put posing's on point, everything's on point, and then all you can do is go and do your best.
Yeah, I think a lot of people need to hear that because I've never won, never won. Well, I won't come. I don't think I'll compete again now. Like after 2 health conditions, I think I'll just coach. I think I'll help. Yeah,
it's the same with like last year. I could have been. I mean, I couldn't have been upset because I'd taken a massive jump from bikini to figure, and then going into the pros, and then literally being in a lineup with, I think there was 15 people that have either been to the Olympia or the universe, and I came. I don't actually know where I came back. I came second call out, so it was between 12th and 6th and 12th. So I don't know.
I was going to say when you said 12, I was like, no, roll that back.
Yeah. So it was either 6 to 12. I don't actually know, but I could be upset because I didn't get the first call outs. But given where I am on my journey, and I knew that I needed to put more size on, I could have been like really upset and thrown in the towel and not wanting to compete because I've not won my show.
Yeah.
But like, you've also got to take a step back and go, where am I on my journey? Where do I need to be successful? And what can I do to make things better next time?
I think as well that like above all that is it'll test you and how passionate you are about this sport or industry. Because if you get one knock and you quit, was you really in it for the right reasons? Because you probably know this. Like I look and I'm like, right, okay, are you competing for likes on Instagram?
Yeah,
Are you competing to fuel your coaching?
yeah.
Are you competing to say you've done it, which is fine? All of those three are fine.
Yeah.
Or if then you lose, you can't be butthurt, because that's going to affect the effort you place, I think, on yourself. I want to add a question here, because like this comes to mind, is going back to when you and Cooper got your pro cards.
Yeah.
Which one was you most nervous about? You stepping on stage, or where Cooper placed?
Cooper.
I just said, that's Callum's dog. That's because of Callum's. I just said Cooper, didn't I?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry.
That's a dachshund. That is different in size.
So yeah, I get more not nervous. I guess not even excited. I get more like
goosebumps, kind of butterflies,
like butterfly belly.
I think you love him too much to what the result's going to affect him.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah, definitely. So I guess that I get that nervous butterfly feeling more so for him. For me, it's more the excitement of getting to go on stage, because I do enjoy it. So that weekend was mad though, because
it was.
He won his on the Saturday, and I've not been competing for that long, to be fair, and I had a really bad injury at the start of that year. So
what did you do?
I broke my foot. Well, I shattered my foot in a car accident, and I couldn't actually walk for 16 weeks.
Did you drive it?
Yeah.
Ouch.
Yeah, it wasn't actually, everybody says it, don't they? It's not actually my fault. It wasn't. Somebody pulled in front of me and I tried to brake, but I ended up in the back of them.
I said that when I knocked a delivery driver off his bike. I said it wasn't my fault. It was.
I guess it was my fault for going into the back of him, but he pulled in front of me way too late for me to be able to brake. So
was you, when he started pulling up in front of you, did you decide to put your foot down? Like, who are you to? No, it's not my fault. But you won't get in front of me.
Exactly. All the engine literally ended up on me.
Wow.
And then my car set on fire. So it was it.
How was it? Was you driving?
Yeah, I nearly didn't get out of
driving.
Pardon?
What was you driving?
Oh, a Volkswagen Polo at the time.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was.
What do you drive now?
An Amarok, a big truck.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It's a little bit more sturdy than a.
Just drive through cars now. You don't know where you've gone in the back of.
No. People just move out of the way.
Does it actually, the size of that thing? Can you get in the lane in a car on a normal road?
Yeah, and I can park it in a normal parking space.
Because some of them are monstrous, and I'm like, where is the enjoyment of having to give way to everyone? Because
it's okay, because it's
narrow.
Yeah.
Normal car size.
Yeah, but then it's just taller, which is nice.
Anyway, back to that show weekend.
Yeah, it was mad. It was great. So obviously I just get more of a nervousy butterfly feeling when he's on stage, and for me it's just more excitement.
Are you doing that on it, aren't you?
No, they don't have my class.
Oh no, I remember an interview actually.
Yeah,
they're trying to get it though, aren't they?
For next year, yeah.
Next year.
Yeah.
Are you going to compete this year? Or are you going to Denmark or?
No. So I'm going to compete in Florida in October.
Wow, that'll be what date's that?
The 23rd of October.
Is Cuba going to do that show as well?
No. I'm going to go on my own, which I think will be quite nice.
I think it will. Are you going to take anyone with you or completely on yourself?
Well, Ria's actually out there.
That's cool.
She's going to come and stay with me and support me on that weekend, which will be lovely.
Mad from diving to competing.
Yeah. Obviously, we've known each other for a very long time. So we actually lived together for like 5 years.
Is that like university? What was that?
Yeah, uni. Yeah, we lived together at uni, but she's more like my sister than my friend. It's not like an Instagram friendship. We are very much
together. Yeah, we do know each other.
yeah. Like I've spent a lot of time with her family. She spends a lot of time with my family. So we're very. She's my closest friend in the world.
Are you going to stay out there long?
No, because then I've got another 2 shows after that one. So I'm going to go and do the Romania as well again. And then I'm going to go and do the Benidorm. I think it's in Benidorm, the Big Man Evolution.
I remember that. I mean, like JP Jordan did that one, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna go do those 3, which are all within a 4-week window. So I feel happy about that.
Yeah, I think it gives you that mental break of not having 3 or 4 weeks into it.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Advice for women wanting to get into bodybuilding. What to consider. Anything you wish you knew when getting into this sport. This is going to take an hour.
Do you know what? It won't. It's actually very short and sweet. If you're a female and you want to get into bodybuilding, don't rush to compete, because you need to build muscle. You need to build up food. As females, working with so many of them, like, you will undereat at the time being. Like, before you actually start competing, you will undereat for any kind of muscle building, for anything really. So you need to take some time.
To
We
build that energy.
build the energy, build the strength, build the muscle, build the food up. Also, trial a cut where you actually treat it like a prep before you actually do a competition prep. Because if you trial it and you quit during a competition prep, the the heartache or the upset that you have when that happens is not nice. So you're better off trialing it before you actually do a competition prep, and then go into a competition prep. If you can't afford coaching, again, get on a site that's going to give you a lot of knowledge about it. Definitely do research on diet, training, everything, to make sure that you're in a good place for when you start. And if you can afford a coach, get someone, but get a reputable person. Like, really do. There's lots of good coaches, especially in the UK. And I think that anybody that's at the high level of bodybuilding, if you drop them a message and ask somebody who's a reputable, good coach, will tell you who is.
I agree. Now, going back to this, right? Probably so. This obviously Mag just put these questions together. Now, I put together a bit of a photo shoot, like a client one for the end of this year in October.
Yeah.
And I was wanting to use this as a kind of pre-diet for Magda.
Yeah, she'd enjoy it.
And then we was kind of like, so she put it to me, and like, I'll listen to clients. Or would it not be detriment to my off season? I was like, well, it kind of is, but you're going to need to get lean.
I think honestly, when you get lean and you reverse out of a show, the progress
growing
that you
potential.
make, yeah, honestly, and you need to trial it before. I think that you need, it'd be a good thing for her off season. I wish that in my off season, when I did my big off season between bikini and figure, I wish that I'd done a proper diet to then get that rebound reverse phase off the back of that. During that, I reckon that the progress that we could have made could have been a lot better. So, Magda, do it.
And then, like, I'll actually, after this, once we've ended this, I'll show her recent check-in pictures, and you can give me a bit of a. So then I want her to do train bikini next year.
Oh, amazing. Such a brilliant class. It's a good one to transition into figure for IFBB as well.
That's like,
I think it's the best one in my opinion.
Because it was like, there's a lot of things, and I'm not anti any fed, but when I look at Magda, I'm like, right, you've got potential, you're doing 2 bros.
Yeah.
And then there's other clients, and I'll be firm and honest. I think, right, let's do PCA. Let's do, yeah.
There's certain body types that will fit certain classes, and certain classes aren't in every federation. So
you need to be accustomed to that, don't you? Another question: who do you have your posing with, or who? What? Yeah.
Rhea.
Okay.
Rhea actually does all of my posing and my routines. So that's from this off season. Last off season, I had Emma Hyman help me with my routine.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go with obviously someone that's an Olympian, and obviously with her being my friend, I know that she'd have my best interest at heart with it all. So yeah, we FaceTime to do that together.
That's cool. That's cool. Is that a service she offers, or is that just like?
Yeah, she is. Yeah, I send all of my clients to her because I used to do the posing and I used to help, and like I do help in regards to my clients will send me a check-in and I'll come and see them in person and I'll help with it. But like, being an online coach, you know that like the time that it takes with all of that, then trying to do everybody's posing is quite difficult.
Can't be a jack of all trades, can you?
No, you can't. So that's literally what she does. She's an IFBB pro and she's a posing
coach.
Coach, yeah. So
Yeah.
if you do ever want any posing, she does all feds as well
Yeah.
and all classes, and she's really, really great. Like honestly, just watch her on stage.
And she just flows really well.
The I was watching Sydney Gillen's live stream at the weekend of Rhea's show, and every single person, regardless if it was saying, look at Rhea's presence, stage presence, look at Rhea's stage presence, like regardless of what class you are, like have someone who, yeah, like you watch her on stage and she's just mind blowing. So not just the physique, but the way that she is. So anybody, please go and.
Who would you refer your male clients to for posing?
I think it depends what class it is. Donna Murphy, so Donna Disley, she's very good, very good. Yeah. She started doing it again. I think that she's phenomenal, to be honest, especially with males.
Painting.
When it comes to classic, I'm not too sure, to be honest. But yeah, I'd go with Donna.
That's cool. I thought we'd cover both aspects there.
Yeah.
What's your other plans this year outside of prep? Are you going away? Are you going? Is there anything happening with the gym? Is there anything business-wise?
We've actually got his wedding in December.
Where you get married?
In Doncaster. It's close to home, but I don't know if it's going to happen because at the moment you're only allowed 50 guests. I don't just want 50 guests at my wedding.
This is coming from, right? This is coming from the girl that says I'm quite kind of quiet. I'm on my own.
I have a big family.
Queue them up. I want hundreds.
I have a large family, and I wouldn't want to upset anybody.
What would the main course of the food be?
So we've got to have the venue's food, but it's all very meat based. But then the evening meal is going to be a hog roast. So like the yeah, lots of meat, and good cake. One of my ex clients is actually doing my cake. She's based up in Scotland.
What's the cake going to be?
Carrot cake.
Carrot cake, that's epic.
Yeah, carrot cake. It's the other one, salted caramel and something else. But salted caramel Biscoff, and then just Victoria sponge. Yeah.
You're gonna like whatever cake don't get that's going to Ultraflex people to
honestly, I'll eat the full layer of the carrot cake myself in one sitting.
That would be like, what would that be like? So your competitive season will like finish like towards the end of November.
Yeah, so I'll be like 3 weeks per show.
You'll have like 2 weeks to fill the dress.
The dress fitting is 1 week after my competition, the last one. Yeah, they know what I do.
Yeah.
I know them well, so they're
just going to wear a JP tracksuit.
Yeah, 100%. I told him that he needs to wear a what's it called? What the Scottish people wear.
Some Vibrams and a kilt.
Yeah. Because he goes commando all the time, so it's just fitting, isn't it?
Does he like? Cal had this the other. I wasn't there actually. He was. What was he on? I think he was on the adductor. You know the plate loaded adductor.
Who was?
No, Callum.
Oh right, yeah.
I wasn't there, and he says he wore shorts that day, didn't wear any underwear. Come out, like I suppose that's why Kuba wears joggers.
Well, this is the thing. When I first started going to his gym before it became Ultraflex,
he was a pervert.
And have you've been to Ultraflex?
Iron Athlete. I went to Iron Athlete. I went to
Yeah, Iron Athlete. So the Nitrum's always been there.
Yes, yeah.
The leg press. I remember when he had these small little shorts on. I was sat doing the adductors behind it. I looked behind, and there was just everything hanging out. I was like, oh.
From that point, you fell in love.
Oh yeah, that was it. Love at first sight.
Yeah. I remember that because he had the grandma, what's her face, down, and she did a
yeah.
And I remember Brad, I think one of Kuba's clients was there, and Kamara, I think they was a couple at the time.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they used to.
I remember I always like whenever I see Kamara, I always look and think, I remember you as that person, because she was like kind of stood on the outside watching and like getting involved, and then now like IFBB Pro.
Yeah.
Mental.
It is.
I think it's going to be like a breeding ground for pros soon.
Yeah. I think it's a nice little base. I think because there's links into Sheffield and Leeds and Manchester that it's a nice place to be because it's quiet.
It's middle. It's like the
Yeah.
middle. It's like
Yeah.
you've got friends in Newcastle, you've got friends here. It's kind of the point you meet.
Yeah,
I think sometime when I've been there, I thought I bet some of the local members are like, oh, for fuck's sake, can you lot piss off? This is our
yeah.
gym.
They love it. They love it.
No,
They love it. We've got a lot of members that have been there for a long time, so some very
you've
loyal
got a
members.
lot of people that have moved house specifically for that.
Yeah,
Broken relationships, even.
countries, everything.
Everything is brilliant. But
Yeah.
right, I think we've touched all my questions there. Is there anything you wanted to add or?
No, I think that we've covered everything from a female perspective.
Yeah. It might be ideal. Like, I don't know what Kuba's thing is like or what, whether he has a day rate for this sort of stuff, but it'd be cool to get him on.
Yeah, I'll tell him to drop you a
I'll let
message.
him to talk about the topic, but just tell him like I don't want to talk about my shit squats. Like, I understand. I can't.
I'll tell him.
Leave that for Instagram. Like, don't come at me, please. I cried myself to sleep over some of his comments already. No, he's a big softie.
He is.
He means no harm. But yeah, I love how well you're both doing. I love how, like, from a, let's say from an athlete perspective, you've built such a great like physique for both of yourselves. You're doing ever so well with coaching, and that's very rare because one of my opinions is a lot of athletes, like competitive athletes, turn to online coaching for an income.
Yeah.
They don't add any value.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't think that either of us see it as that.
No, and I think and that's what I'm saying. Like, I think looking at the MK Elite new structure, like all I see on Kuba is his knowledge from when I was saying about Chris Wormley.
Yeah.
It's like he's done pre-script, he's done this course, he's done business mentoring, he's done stuff with Mark Coles.
Yeah.
I think that speaks volume. But anyway, I shan't try and get him on with my positive comments. I'll thank you for coming on, Meg. Where can people find you for anyone that doesn't know?
So just Instagram, it's at, I always say, I'm going to spell it. It's at Meg Alicia Sylvester. So MEGALYCIASYLVESTER. Nobody ever spells my name right, so I'm just going to.
Did I pronounce it right?
Yeah.
Oh, good, because I am like, I get paranoid when I read some, like, especially like, and this isn't thinking, but there's, from when I was a kid, I live in Ilkeston, Cockney, right? Everyone's British, so you've got Fred, Mike, Ron.
Yeah.
You don't have any other names. Like, it's weird to see somebody called Tate. Like, and then you kind of go into a new job and you're like, oh, there's Slavic. Yeah. And I always worry. I'm like, I don't want to sound bad, but I don't know how to pronounce it. Can you just, like, Magda, for example? I called her Magna for so long, and she had to pull me up on it. And she's like, well, you've been coaching me now for just over 2 months. Can you just say my name right? I was like,
I always have to ask him. When it's a funny one, I always have to ask. And then I'm like, can I just make it smaller?
This doesn't, Kuba, doesn't that mean something, doesn't it?
So yeah, sometimes it's an abbreviation or a shortened down version of Jacob. Well, Jacob, sorry. But he's not. He's literally Kuba.
He's actually Kuba.
Yeah.
I think it was actually Magda that told me that, and I was like,
oh, is she Polish?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. It should be Jacob, which would be Jacob, but he's actually just Kuba. His mum and dad christened him and named him Kuba.
That's cool. That's something new every day.
Yeah.
I'll start calling him Jacob.
Yeah, do it, and it'll annoy him.
I've seen the size of his fist now.
Yeah, I know. I'll try and stay clear.
yeah, I'll join you. But right, Meg, thank you very much. I hope everyone's enjoyed that. Thank you. Right.